Over to you, Chair Harrington.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Tuesday, March 17th, 2026 Washington County Board of Commissioners meeting. Clerk Hodges, could you do us the formal honors, please?
Absolutely, Chair Harrington. The Washington County Board of Commissioners, also meeting as the Board of Directors for all other county service districts, is meeting in regular session on March 17th, 2026. Commissioner Snyder?
Here.
Commissioner Treese?
Here.
Commissioner Fye?
Present.
Vice Chair Willie?
Here.
Chair Harrington.
Here. Thank you. And before we move to the Pledge of Allegiance, I have an agenda item update for everyone. We had an extensive conversation about the original rule of law resolution and order, action item H2 for tonight's meeting, as well as a set of published potential amendments. And at this juncture, we're going to put the item back on tonight's agenda. The resolution and order is in the packet, and without further ado, I would like to provide Commissioner Fye the opportunity for comments.
Thank you, Chair Harrington. I appreciate that. This was an extensive conversation that we had at the work session where we were considering a rule of law resolution, and we really had a robust conversation. I had an amendment a few weeks ago, and then we had another discussion today, and the suggestion was to unanimously be united for this resolution, and I really consider that during my break here. And I talked to the community members that brought this resolution forward to the board to consider because of what's happening in the streets of Washington County. While I wanted my amendments included in that, I'm happy this is where compromise happens, and what you're going to witness tonight is that. And for that, I would like to, for the board to consider the original resolution so that we're not in a limbo and that we have some resolution to this discussion, and that in the future, we can come back and perhaps suggest a new amendments and whatnot. But for now, tonight, to provide closure and to respect the community members that put a lot of time and effort to bring this issue to us, to educate us, to come and testify, and also took time tonight to come and speak. So I wanted to say, out of respect for that, I'm happy to support the original resolution, and hence why I asked this to be put back so that the whole board gets to vote on and there's no back and forth.
So we will come to this item later in the agenda, and at that time allow for board questions and comments. Thank you.
May I have a comment?
Yes.
So just a point of order. Today in work session, we had two commissioners who voted to pull this item from the agenda. So how does it get back on without noticing it?
We'll have county counsel speak to that.
Commissioner, when we addressed this item in your work session, you asked, the chair asked if two commissioners were necessary to pull the item from the agenda. I answered yes. At that time, though, I was thinking of a business meeting. We were not yet in a business meeting. Henceforth, we didn't have an agenda at that point. Prior to that point, the presiding officer can make changes to the agenda, and any commissioner can ask to have an item re-added to the agenda. Before tonight's business meeting, Commissioner Fye asked to have this item re-added to the agenda. It was properly noticed 72 hours before the meeting.
So I guess I have a question then. Is that okay with Commissioner Snyder?
Yeah, in the spirit of moving things forward in a positive way, I think that's one of the outcomes I was trying to achieve earlier today. So even if folks weren't ready to work through that at 3 or 4 today, they are now. So let's do it.
Okay. If you're good with it, I'm good with it.
Is everyone comfortable with moving forward with consideration on item H2 later. Thank you. And with that, if everyone who is able could please join us in standing and the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Next, we'll move to our first public comment period for tonight's meeting. This is an opportunity for members of our community to share their thoughts with us on any topic for up to 2 minutes an individual. Clerk Hodges, do we have folks who wish to do so?
We do, Chair Harrington. We have the full sign up for this comment section. We'll start with Dale Feek and Elizabeth Johnson.
Oh, I'm sorry, we pushed those chairs in between our 2 meetings.
I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Feek, and then we'll have Ms. Johnson address us.
Thank you, Chair Harrington and Commissioners. Dale Feek. I sent you an email. I sent it to 4 mayors and their councilors, and also I made public comment this to the Environmental Quality Commission meeting last week. We need all of you, your family, your friends, acquaintances, to take action to stop Trump's ready, fire, aim, not ready, aim, and then fire. As you've said that before, Chair Harrington, we need all of you on March 28th, 2 weeks from this coming Saturday, to march across America, the largest demonstration in the nation's history. March 28th, Beaverton, Hillsborough, Forest Grove. You need to be out on the streets. And that's from Robert Reich. Second is Heather Cox Richardson, the attached statement. She quotes Eisenhower 3 times. Every gun that is made, every warship launched, every rocket fired signifies, in the final sense, the theft from those who from hunger and are not fed, who are as cold and not clothed. The sweat of workers, the genius of scientists, and the hopes of children would be better spent on schools, hospitals, roads, and homes than on armaments. World peace could be achieved, Eisenhower said, not by weapons of war, but by wheat and by cotton, by milk and by wool, by meat and by timber and by rice. Reich concludes that, and you have the whole thing in the document I sent by email. Richardson says, promoting economic prosperity and better standards of living at home and around the world was not just about peace or justice. Eisenhower thought it was about saving humankind. Please join me and a lot of people on March 28th, showing that we need to stop what's going on. Thank you.
Ms. Johnson, please go ahead.
Thank you. Chair Harrington, Commissioners Fye, Snyder, Treese, and Willie. My name is Elizabeth Johnson, and I live in Washington County. Today is the 3rd time I have addressed this board in regard to the resolution in support of the rule of law, drafted by members of concerned citizens of Washington County. Over the past few weeks, you created your own document, Rule of Law Resolution and Order, which was initially on your board agenda for a vote today. Earlier today, at your work session, you decided to table it to take no action. I am heartily relieved that that has changed. I believe that your public stance is needed at this time in history more than ever. Your action to approve your own resolution created by your own legal counsel means that you take a stand to protect the individual rights of all county residents, including those protections guaranteed under Amendments 1 and 4 of the U.S. Constitution. You will be acknowledging that our nation's guiding principles of separation of powers, federalism, and the Bill of Rights are under grave threat. You will be reaffirming your commitment to defending our U.S. Constitution and the rule of law. I'm changing a little bit because of recent events. We are about to celebrate our nation's 250th anniversary and its Declaration of Independence. I have high hopes you will all be able to take pride in your vote of approval today on your own resolution. It's the right thing to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Clerk Hodges, who do we have next?
Next on the sign-up sheet, we have Mary Menso and Marilyn Turner.
Go ahead, Ms. Manso.
Good evening. I'm Mary Manso. I'm a longtime CPO volunteer, but the current modernization process for the program feels like a surreal experience. At times, I half expect to hear Rod Serling announce that we have entered a dimension between the pit of man's fears and the summit of his knowledge. It is the Twilight Zone. It's jarring to watch an organization that once helped directly shape decisions to being relegated to a mere observer of staff-led processes. We aren't opposed to change. We just want to be cooperatively included in the solution. With the proposed changes to the CPO program, you are losing the ability to have unified public recommendations unfiltered by staff opinions and recommendations. As evidence of what is at stake, I've submitted 2 letters sent by CPO 7 to the THPRD board today. One supports segments of the West Side Trail. The other proposes moving a trail alignment from the high-speed Walker Road to the quieter Pioneer Road. These represent the unified community voice that only an independent CPO can provide. Please don't trade this authentic community partnership for a staff-filtered substitute. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Manso. Ms. Turner.
Chair Harrington, Commissioners, my name is Marilyn Turner, and I'm a resident of Washington County. A couple of hours ago, we feared that a vote on the rule of law resolution was not going to happen tonight. The resolution is good. Is it perfect? No. Does it please everyone? No. 3 amendments were proposed, but those amendments did not substantially alter the resolution. They enhanced, but they did not replace. I appreciate your willing to reconsider your vote tonight. I know it's difficult to change minds. We've been trying to change minds for months. But this is a democracy. We do not need unanimity in order to act, but when it happens, it is heartening. Thank you for choosing to vote on the resolution tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. Clerk Hodges, who do we have next?
Last up, we'll have Michael Donahue.
Welcome, Mr. Donahue.
Welcome. You're becoming a habit. And given things have changed, I'm going to be editing on the fly, so excuse some stumbling here. My name is Michael Donahue, and I'm a resident of Washington County. I was privileged to attend your work session earlier this afternoon with some of our other members, and I appreciate all your efforts to come to some agreements on the wording of the amendments to your rule of law resolution order. Needless to say, we were disappointed at the tabling of the resolution, and we've spent the afternoon writing these statements, and so we are pleased to see that things have changed. Given the lack of votes to pass the amendments drafted by your own working group, passing your original resolution was the best option. I'm disappointed that perfection, a 5-0 vote, became the enemy of the good. A 4-1 vote is still a strong statement of the voice of the commissioners. The resolution that the board drafted was not the resolution that the community submitted to you, but the community is willing to compromise and embrace the board's current resolution. We are glad that at this meeting, you will bring up your original rule of law resolution in order for a vote and adoption. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Donahue. And that brings us, I believe, to the full list and our availability tonight for the first public comment section. Next, we have tonight's consent agenda, and it's a rather lengthy one. It has 20 items, so bear with me. And I know Vice Chair Willie will help make sure I get it right. We have 2 sets of minutes, 1 item from the district attorney, 1 item from Health and Human Services, 1 item from Human Resources, 1 item from the Office of Community Development, 1 item from the Sheriff's Office, 1 item from County Council, 3 items from Facilities, Fleet, and Parks, and 9 items, thank goodness I don't have to read each one of them, from Land Use and Transportation, and I apologize for all the editorialism tonight. That brings us to a list of 20 items on tonight's consent agenda. Board, what are the your wishes with regard to tonight's consent agenda?
Move to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of adopting tonight's consent agenda, please thank you. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. Next, we're going to move on to boards and committees. Tonight, we have the opportunity to appoint members to the Washington County Civil Service Commission. They would be to appoint Peter Parmenter at large and John Paschal Jr. From District 3 to the Washington County Civil Service Commission, each for a term of service expiring March 31 of 2028. We would also have the opportunity to appoint Jean Kawamoto from District 2, Jason Mitchell, who resides in District 2, and Dustin Lachey, who resides in District 4, to the Washington County Civil Service Commission for a term of service expiring March 31st of 2029. We discussed the applicants and the appointments at a previous work session. What are the wishes of the commission?
I move to appoint the members to the Washington County Civil Service Commission as presented in tonight's agenda.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. And tonight we have 2 different proclamations. The first is to proclaim April 6th through 12th of 2026 as National Public Health Week in Washington County. And at this juncture, I'd like to invite our staff experts and guests up for a short presentation and the proclamation reading for our consideration.
Good evening, Chair Harrington and commissioners. For the record, my name is Marie Bowman Davis. I am the local public health administrator and public health division manager in the Department of Health and Human Services. Tonight, we are asking you to proclaim National Public Health Week, and we have a presentation from one of our Public Health Week staff planners, Lindy, and she's also going to introduce our guest speaker tonight. I'll turn it over to Lindy.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Harrington and members of the board. My name is Lindy Petty, and I'm the Alcohol and Drug Prevention Senior Program Coordinator for the Public Health Division. Thank you for having us today to proclaim April 6th through 12th as National Public Health Week in Washington County. I will provide a brief overview of National Public Health Week and then hand it off to our partners from Upstream Access to share about their important public health work in the community. Next slide, please. Oh, thank you. Each year, the American Public Health Association celebrates National Public Health Week during the first full week in April. This week is an opportunity to celebrate the work and impact of public health and invites everyone to renew their commitment to strengthening the systems, science, and community partnerships that keep us healthy. This year's theme, Ready, Set, Action, calls on each of us to look back at the progress we've made and look forward to the steps needed for an even healthier future. Because one truth guides it all: good health doesn't just happen. To celebrate National Public Health Week, we will be holding several events for staff, including a virtual learning series, Ready, Set, Learn, opportunities for staff and leadership to share their appreciation with colleagues, and a National Public Health Week bingo card that staff can complete by attending events or participating in different activities. We will be closing out the week with our annual staff and community celebration on Friday, April 10th. This is an opportunity for Washington County Public Health to share our appreciation for the staff and community partners that make this work possible. This event will feature an art walk highlighting the winners of our first ever public youth art contest and an award ceremony showcasing examples of public health and community collaboration. This event is open to all members of the public but requires registration on the Public Health Week webpage on our public health website. Now, I'll pass it over to our partner from Upstream Access to introduce themselves and talk about the public health work they're doing in the community.
Thank you. My name is Brooke McCall, and I am a quadriplegic woman from Beaverton, Oregon, speaking to you tonight as the board president of Upstream Access. We are a local organization with the following mission. We are a cross-disability community committed to supporting the needs of and resilience of fellow disabled people in Oregon and Southwest Washington. We celebrate disability as a culture and source of creative strength. We invest in our collective wisdom to advance for positive change. We partner with allies who share our vision of equity and access in all landscapes. In my own public health work, learning about the lives of fellow disabled Oregonians, I've seen recurring themes. One is that during emergencies, like our past ice storms and wildfires, the safety net folks expect often has holes exactly where our community needs them most. When the power goes out, it isn't just an inconvenience, it's a life-threatening loss of access to the assistive technology, to the medical equipment, and tools that maintain our independence, communication, and health. At Upstream Access, we aren't just waiting for the next crisis to react. We are being proactive. We are extremely proud to be the first organization in the nation to pilot the lauded Person-Centered Emergency Preparedness Program, shortened to PCEPT. Public health folks love acronyms. A framework that helps us partner with the Collaboration for Inclusion and University of Sydney in Australia, right here in Oregon. So far, by the end of the month, we'll have certified 60 folks from the community, from community organizations, from state and local government, and from just invested folks from our own community that are working to uplift the safety of our peers. Beyond the certification, we offer monthly Ready, Set, again, PCEPT Connect offerings. It's a virtual meeting that our members of our community can come together and discuss various topics that strengthen our individual and community resilience. Instead of generic checklists, we use the proven CMIST model focusing on community, maintaining health, independence, support safety and self-sufficiency alongside transportation, which is a huge one, for people with disabilities. We work one-on-one with disabled Oregonians to map individualized capability wheels, ensuring that folks have the tools like backup power, like solar-powered items and peer support networks, or as we like to call them, pods, to stay safe and autonomous in people's own homes. We know that isolation before, during, and after a disaster can result in irreparable harm. That's why we continue to host 3-month-long Prepability Peers cohorts. We have Tech Connect virtual support discussions every month, and we host seasonal resilience fairs where community members can come together to learn more and receive items to better support themselves in situations where extreme cold, mental health resilience, extreme heat, and power outages come to their lives. So we are also moving public health upstream by treating preparedness as a community habit rather than a governmental reliance. We are building a culture where disabled people are recognized as the experts in their own survival and as essential partners in local resilience planning. That's something I can definitely say I'm committed to. As we kick off Public Health Week, I'm here to ask that this local government continues to look upstream alongside us and our work. Let's ensure that our governmental planning and climate justice work is as diverse and resilient as the people it serves. Thank you for your time and for your commitment to safe and accessible Oregon.
Thank you. And Lindy will now read the proclamation.
Whereas the week of April 6th through 12th, 2026 is National Public Health Week, and the theme is Ready, Set, Action. And whereas Washington County Public Health works in partnership with communities to improve lives, safeguard families, and strengthen our communities, advocating for policies and practices that promote good health for all. And whereas healthy people and healthy communities provide a foundation for a strong, resilient, and vibrant society. And whereas we recognize and center the wisdom, skills, and talents of our community members to address the root causes of health access gaps and barriers to community health and well-being. And whereas, although we have made great strides to improve the health and well-being of our community over the past 20 years, we still face public health challenges, including adverse childhood experiences and gaps in birth and educational outcomes. And whereas Washington County Public Health remains committed to ensuring the community receives accurate and trustworthy information in languages that best meet their needs, and basing public health work in reliable scientific information. And whereas Washington County Public Health teams protect the health of the community through multiple programs and functions, including but not limited to restaurant inspections, mosquito surveillance, communicable disease investigations, supporting immunization access, home visiting for new parents, tobacco and substance use prevention, nutrition education, emergency preparedness, responsive EMS systems, assessing community health, interpreting and sharing health data, and coordinating community partners to address health priority areas. And whereas Washington County Public Health is committed to engaging authentically with the community to ensure equal access to programs and services that are effective and responsive to community needs. Now, therefore, be it resolved that on this 17th day of March 2026, the Washington County Board of Commissioners, acting as the local public health authority, does hereby proclaim the week of April 6th through 12th, 2026 as National Public Health Week in Washington County.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I would ask for a motion and a second before turning the mic over for board comments.
So moved, Chair Harrington.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Would any commissioners like to make comments?
I'll just briefly acknowledge how many different major activities are in public health. You just read a long list. Each one of those is like a whole program with people and really important community members being served. So I just want to acknowledge that, and I'm excited that we're hopefully going to proclaim this.
I would also like to join Commissioner Snyder and say thank you so much for all the work that you do. I started my career as a health teacher, not in public health, but have been committed my entire life to the health and well-being of everybody that we work with. Thank you for your comments this evening. It was much appreciated. And bringing life to what public health is all about. You've done a wonderful job in doing that. Thank you, and let's keep moving forward.
Anyone else?
Okay, I'll jump in. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for joining us tonight and teaching us a little bit about your organization. I really appreciate it, and I learned a lot. And thank you for everything you're doing to make sure we have a healthy people in healthy communities. Staff, I really appreciate your proclamation every year. I celebrate, but as I was reading your proclamation over the weekend and sort of preparing, I always hesitate to figure out how to ask this question to the public health folks. And it's a question that I contemplate because it's a pretty hard topic. But I mentioned this time because I just got an email today. So I'm going to ask, here's the question. Have you all this year, I know we did this last year as well, and before I get to my question, I also want to say the April 10th event, I went there last year. It was phenomenal. It was really, I really appreciated the award ceremony part of it and everybody that was there. It was a very lively event, and I intend to show up this year as well. So, but the question I have is particularly this year and what has happened and in our communities and the healing that we need to do. Have you thought about this year perhaps considering declaring racism as a public health crisis in Washington County? And I say this here, even today, I got an email that was forwarded to me, and it's from a constituent, and I'll read the beginning part of it. Dear Nafisify, I'm very concerned for my neighborhood because we've been getting signs and poles covered in white supremacist and anti-LGBTQ plus stickers. So I don't know when do we pause and sort of have these hard conversations that need to happen, but for us as a board, for me as a board member, I do rely on your expertise and your guidance because if you flip it, before I was on this seat, I was a public health professional. So thoughts on that, and if you don't want me to put on your spots, you can always turn it to Tanya, and she's whipped with a lot of answers too. So I want to facilitate that opportunity because this is a pretty big topic.
So I actually want to comment just on the experience from the community member. In Washington County, we are very fortunate within our district attorney's office to receive federal grants to have a bias and hate crimes unit. Commissioner Fye, I will route that information to our sheriff's office to make sure that it is reported properly because here in Washington County, we don't tolerate bias or hate crime. So I just need to route that through the process. So
you know, way ahead of you. John Cook already has this in his inbox.
Well, I just want to make sure that's clear for members also of the public who may hear this information that we at Washington County, we take this seriously when we hear things like this.
Yeah. Okay. Staff reaction on the question now then.
Thank you for the question. If that is of interest to the board, the Public Health Division, in collaboration with the Department of Health and Human Services, are happy to bring back information and to this board at a future date. I do know that the state of Oregon state legislature did declare racism as a public health crisis in previous years, and so there is precedent in our state. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Willie.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to read something from the last slide and then ask you one quick question about your art contest. We are a cross-disability community committed to supporting the resilience of fellow disabled people in Oregon and Southwest Washington. And that really struck to me because your message is something that I'd really never considered. And so, you know, when our power goes out, when we have storms and things like that, we just go get some blankets, you know, hunker down a little bit. Our community of cross-disability folks don't have those options. And so thank you for bringing that to our attention. You're a great messenger for them, so keep up the good work. The art contest, I'm always encouraged by that because I've judged a lot of youth art contests. So do you put them in age categories, grade categories? Is it across the board? Do you go to the elementary schools to get them? How do you go about doing this? Yeah.
That's a great question. Since it's the first time we're doing it, we took information from our Multnomah County partners who had done something similar in tobacco prevention work. So they shared how their process worked, and we kind of modeled it off of that. But there are 2 age categories. I believe one is 10 to 14, and then 15 to 21. Might need to double check those numbers. But there are 2 age categories with a first, second, and third prize. And we are still accepting youth art until the 22nd. If you have any young people in your life in Washington County who would like to participate. And once submissions are received, we're going to go through a review process comprised of staff members. So we should have announcements in the next couple weeks.
And the theme is resilience. Is that what I understand? Because that's what...
The theme is really, what does public health mean to you?
Okay.
And just highlighting and capturing how youth experience public health in their communities and what it looks like for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I want to thank the 3 of you, as well as all of the staff that participate here in Washington County Public Health Division, as well as other departments. You continue to expand our horizon. Thank you very much for continuing to broaden my understanding of what upstream access does. And I very much appreciate the energy, the representation, and the due diligence for continuing to make improvements from the ground up and not just relying upon, as you said, preparedness as a community habit versus just, my words, a government response. I did learn quite a bit from the state OHCS, Oregon Housing Community Services agency director, as well as the then director of the Oregon Health Authority, in a pretty quick post response on the heat dome back in 2020 in June, and became more sensitized to how we need to do a better job in ensuring that everyone, including those in our community who are most vulnerable, in making sure that they're able to healthfully shelter in place, so to speak, or get connected right away with additional services. So please take that as my long-winded way of saying I very much appreciate your work, and I appreciate the efforts and proclamations like this, so we can continue to be on this journey to making things better and better every single day, week, month, and year. Thank you. And now we have a motion and a second to adopt this proclamation as read. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, Commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously, 5-0. Would you like a photo opportunity?
Yes,
All
please.
right.
May I call Afik forward?
Yes, and everyone and everything you wish to have as part of this photo op, please include that.
Okay. Just follow. We're just gonna. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, you have a nicer camera than me. I'll get one on my phone, but I'll let you go first.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Let's try to bunch in as tight as we can, please. All right. A bit closer, if you would. All right.
You guys.
All right. If you don't see the camera likely doesn't see you. So make sure you have a good look. All right, just a few shots on this one. 3, 2, 1. One more. 3, 2, 1. And a few more on my phone. And just for safety. I appreciate all your patience with me. All right. 3, 2, 1. All right, last one. 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Thank you all. Thank you.
How are you doing, Bob?
Just wait, there's more. We have a second proclamation for this evening, and it is a proclamation to proclaim National County Government Month here in 2026. So the commission is going to read this proclamation, and I'm going to start off and then turn it over to my 4 district colleagues. Proclamation. Board of Commissioners for Washington County, Oregon. A proclamation in honor of National County Government Month 2026.
Whereas the nation's 3,069 counties, serving more than 330 million Americans, provide essential services to create healthy, safe, and vibrant communities, and
whereas counties fulfill a vast range of responsibilities and deliver services that touch nearly every aspect of our residents' lives. And
whereas counties as intergovernmental partners enact local, state, and federal programs to address the needs of all residents. And
whereas Washington County, Oregon, as one of the 36 Oregon counties and all counties nationwide, take pride in our responsibility to protect and enhance the health, well-being, and safety of our residents in efficient and cost-effective ways. And
whereas the nation is celebrating 250 years of independence this year, and counties have a long and rich history of serving residents, and
whereas each year since 1991, the National Association of Counties has encouraged counties across the country to elevate awareness of county responsibilities, programs, and services, and
whereas Washington County thrives as a diverse and innovative community where natural beauty and economic opportunity flourish. We are committed to sustainability and celebrate the collaborative spirit that ensures a bright future for all residents.
Now, therefore, be it resolved that Washington County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim April 2026 as National County Government Month and call upon the people of Washington County to observe this month.
Do we have a motion to adopt Red Proclamation? We have a motion.
Second.
And a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, Commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously, 5-0.
You going to do a selfie or anything?
That depends on you guys. Would you like a photo? No? Okay. We're going to move on for you tonight, and that...
Do a photo?
No. We're moving.
So we're going to move on to public hearings. We have 2 public hearings tonight, and the first is with regard to considering the resolution in order to set the fiscal year 2026-27 maximum annual assessment of the Metzger Park Local Improvement District. And I will just say that we had continued this item from our January 27th Board of Commissioners meeting, and we have our staff experts here to provide us with further information. Welcome.
Good evening, Chair Harrington. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Carl Schweitzer, your Parks Division Manager, and with me tonight is Courtney Duke-Dreesen, Deputy County Counsel.
And Ann Ober, Assisting County Administrator.
I presented information at your January 27th, 2026 business meeting in support of our request for the board to set the maximum annual assessment for the Metzger Park Local Improvement District annual assessment for fiscal year 26-27. The proposal would set a new maximum annual assessment of $639,000 to cover increasing operations and maintenance costs for the next 5 years and financially prepare for a significant capital improvement, a replacement of the old playground equipment. Each year, the board sets the maximum, the Metzger Park Local Improvement District assessment. And in years where there is an increase to the assessment, where one is proposed, a public hearing is held. As staff are proposing to increase for fiscal year 26-27, we set a public hearing in January. After your board's deliberation and discussion at that meeting, you had decided to hold over the hearing to have more time to obtain some additional information. We are back with you tonight to continue that public hearing. I am prepared to walk you through the PowerPoint presentation again, if you would so like. We can answer any questions that you may have, or if you prefer, we can be excused and listen to your deliberations.
I would appreciate taking us through the presentation. Am I alone in that, or? I am briefly alone in that, or? Sorry, I'm a little literal.
Yes, I join you in that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So the issue is to approve the resolution in order to increase the fiscal year 26-27 maximum annual assessment of the Metzger Park Local Improvement District. So this presentation will cover an introduction, local improvement district history and purpose, existing resources, the proposal for the assessment increase, and our requested action for your board. So for those of the folks who are looking tonight or watching tonight, Metzger Park is located in unincorporated Washington County, sort of in the crux of Highway 217 and Highway 99 in the Washington Square area. This is a map of the local improvement district itself. You can see the boundaries they're in, and the park is the green blob right in the middle. It is comprised of residential properties and commercial properties for the most part. Metzger Park is a beautiful 7-acre park in urbanized, unincorporated Washington County, located adjacent to Hall Boulevard. The property was deeded to the county in 1921 by Henry and Laura Wolf. And Metzger Park has many wonderful amenities, including playground, basketball and tennis courts, open lawn area, mature trees, and the Patricia D. Whiting Metzger Park Hall. Here's some images of the park. The image on the left displays our new path project that was executed ahead of schedule and under budget. And this is an image of the annual egg hunt at Metzger Park last year. The center photograph is a picture of the basketball court that was developed with LID funding and grant funding from Oregon Recreation Parks Department. And that was opened in 2020. And the image on the right is sort of evocative of the nature of the park, which is a community park. This is not a regional park where people drive long distances to go there. It's people who ride their bike or push their stroller or walk their dogs to get there. The history of the local improvement district is long and winding, pretty interesting. For most of its history, it was operated and maintained by the community volunteers. When that was no longer feasible, Metzger community approached the county and asked for a new system of management to be devised. The Metzger Park Advisory Board formed in 1972, and the outcome of the conversation with the county then was the Local Improvement District, which was formed in 1975. The annual assessment funds are used for operation and maintenance of the park and for capital replacements and improvements. In the 50 years since the inception of the MPLID, the maximum annual assessment has increased 5 times. The maximum annual assessment is raised when collected assessment dollars can no longer cover rising operational costs or if there is new capital replacement or improvements that are needed. The Metzger Park budget receives no contribution from the county's general fund. It is completely independent. So the increase that is being proposed by staff is to address 2 particular issues. The first of which is that the current annual assessment is no longer able to cover our operational and maintenance expenses. The second is that there is playground equipment at the site that is long overdue for replacement, and we have done a good job of extending the useful life of that equipment as long as possible, but it's reasonable to expect that sometime in the very near future that equipment will no longer be safe for the community to play on and will have to be removed if we don't come up with a plan to replace it. So this is the snapshot of this year's budget for Metzger Park, and I won't go through all of this information since you've seen it before, but just the highlights are that the expenditures for the Metzger Park operation exceeds the revenue that is produced by the maximum assessment and our other variety of small revenue streams. And so this particular year, fiscal year 25-26, we had to take money out of the fund balance to cover our operational expenses. We would not be able to do that for future years. And so that's a really key component of the increase that we're requesting. The second piece is the replacement of the playground equipment. Playground equipment typically lasts for a limited duration of time. It depends on a variety of factors, including how heavily it's used, the weather conditions that it's in, any kind of other factors like vandalism or things of that nature. The expectation that when the playground equipment manufacturers provide these products is an average of 15 to 20 year lifespan. The oldest equipment, which is most of the equipment, is original to the 1975 redo of the park, so that makes it over 50 years old. The newest piece of equipment there is the picture in the top right-hand corner, which is the main play structure, and that is now 24 years old. In 2023, Washington County Parks did an informal community survey, online survey, where we solicited opinions about the things that they would most like to see improved at the park. And the top 2 projects were the path project and playground replacement. It was a virtual tie. We did the path project that was completed earlier in 2025 because we had the available resources. For the playground replacement, it's a more substantial investment, and we needed to come up with a strategy and a plan for implementing a strategy to come up with the resources to be able to replace it. So we engaged the community, and I won't go all through this, through each word of this, but just really quickly, I'd share with you that the Metzger Park Local Improvement District has a citizen advisory board, and we've been working with them for a number of years on this particular issue of replacing the playground. In the last 9 months, we've gotten pretty serious about this. We presented this proposal that you have in front of you to them at their July meeting. They voiced support for this proposal. Based on that, in September, we sent a postcard to all of the properties in the Metzger Park Local Improvement District, advising them that we would be discussing a proposed increase at the October meeting and inviting them to participate in that meeting. We did cover this proposal again at the advisory board's October meeting. Again, the Metzger Park Local Improvement District Advisory Board strongly supported this. And based on that, in November, we sent a letter to all of the property owners and the overlapping taxing agencies, advising them that we were going to provide this proposal or bring this proposal to the Board of County Commissioners in January of 2026. In that letter, we gave them notice on how to provide comments. And of the 3,045 letters that were sent, we received approximately 30 letters. Some of them were asking for clarification of what the letter meant, and probably 2/3 of them had expressed that they were not supporting of the proposed increase. And then we met with you in January. On the left is the image of the postcard that was mailed to all the addresses. On that, you can see that there was a specific mention that we were going to be talking about this proposal at that meeting and inviting them to attend. And the image on the right is an example of one of the letters that we sent to the overlapping taxing districts, advising them of this action. So just reiterating the need that has been identified. The first is that we're operating at a deficit for operations and maintenance, and that is unsustainable. And so at the very least, we need to have an operations and we need to increase the maximum assessment so that we can continue to maintain our current level of operations and maintenance at Metzger Park. The second is that the playground replacement is past or at the end of its useful life, and this is a strategy to provide the funding to replace it. And our request for you is that we move the maximum assessment from $318,000 a year to $639,000 a year for fiscal year 26-27. The idea is that we will over-collect over a 5-year period, or not over-collect, but we will collect enough money that over a 5-year period, we will be able to set aside a minimum of $700,000 in order to replace the playground equipment. As time goes on, the light blue bar, which is kind of hard to see here, but the light blue bar and the darker blue bar, the top of those will become parallel, at which point we will stop collecting revenue for the playground equipment, and that will be the new, the expectation is that will be the cost to operate and maintain the park. So we believe that that is a 5-year window. We would not go back to the community and ask for another increase for at least a 5-year period. And this is just another look at that. We will collect more in the first few years where our costs for operation and maintenance are lower. We will set aside more, and as the expense for operating and maintaining the park increases, the amount set aside for the playground will be reduced. I think I've covered this. If this is approved as proposed, we would have enough money to operate and maintain the park and set aside a minimum of $700,000 for a playground replacement. We would not expect to raise the assessment for another 5 years, and the new assessment, whatever it is, would take effect on July 1 of 2026. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Go ahead.
I also would just like to add, in your packet for today, there was a memo that had some additional information. As much as this is our recommendation, there are some options for you tonight as to how you might like to roll this out. Those include whether or not we want to do a 1-year increase only in operations, a 5-year increase in operations, or if we want to do the proposal as presented. There's also a line item at the end of that chart for $25,000 if the board believes that we need to do additional engagement work. I really appreciate Carl's team. They do an incredible job, but this will be extra load on those employees, and so we would need to bring in a consultant in order to do additional engagement work. So I just wanted to highlight that within your packet, and we're here to answer any questions.
Just on that, to be clear, the current recommendation from staff is to move forward with the 5-year assessment of this new level. And to be clear, it does not yet include the $25,000 request that you just spoke to.
Correct. The $25,000 would only be if you wanted us to do additional capital outreach. Okay. Thank you.
Since the public can't, or at least the people in the room can't immediately access the materials, can you just outline the different high-level costs of those 3 proposals?
I am going to invite Carl to do so.
Yeah, just for everyone's reference, the memo is included in the packet, which is available online, and Carl will refer us to the different pages.
Yes, thank you. So on page 2 of that attachment, there is a table that presents a variety of options for your consideration. The first is if the board was interested in just covering the operations and maintenance costs for 1 year, increase the maximum assessment for 1 year period, that would be $399,452. If the board wanted to concurrently gauge the community's interest in doing something more and different, that would be at the bottom of that table. We would request some additional funding of $25,000 for consultant-led community engagement. The second option listed in that table is if we wanted to do a 5-year period with no new increases. That is, you wanted to set a maximum assessment that only covered operations and maintenance for a 5-year period. That cost would be $523,600. And then the big proposal, which does cover the capital piece, again, is $639,000. That one would not require any additional consultant-led community engagement. That would only be if you were interested in something different, in one of the operation and maintenance only strategies.
And if I could also highlight something that the memo made very clear to me, it's on the very last page under the section impact of a yes vote. The very first paragraph that talks about, as proposed, the average, repeat, average assessment cost per year for the residential property owners would increase from the current $70 per year to $140 per year. So thank you. Not sure if we were all clear on that. Are there other board questions at this juncture before we have the public hearing? No? Seeing none?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I might wait until, do we have anybody in the public that's going to testify to this, and I'll make my comments.
Yes, we do.
afterwards.
And we
Okay.
do have an opportunity for question and comments after the public.
Okay, that's,
Yes, you all have that right, as
Thank you.
usual. Okay, so at this juncture, I would like to open a public hearing with regard to the resolution in order to set the fiscal year 26-27 maximum annual assessment of the Metzger Park Local Improvement District. Clerk Hodges.
You have one sign up ahead of time, Roy Beatty.
Welcome, Mr. Beatty.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair Harrington, Commissioners. It's good to be speaking with you again. My name is Roy Beatty. I'm a resident of Washington County in the Metzger Park LID area. I testified in January about this issue, and I appreciated the postponement because it allowed some time to get better acquainted on some issues. Chair Harrington, thank you for the LID. Commissioner Snyder, thank you for the discussion about the composition, the mixed or, tigered, unincorporated of the LID. And Commissioner Willie, you even had a suggestion about nonprofit status that I looked into by talking to leadership in the Tualatin Hills Nature Park, Friends of Tualatin Hills Nature Park, and how that might apply to Metzger. So thank you for all of that feedback. It also provided a chance to take a closer look at financial details, including those underlying the presentations you just saw. And it looked at the estimates and assumptions in the park's proposal for the increased assessment, and also gave me a chance to look at the budgets, especially the significant cap cost allocation plan charges to Metzger Park for facilities management and building equipment replacement. I'm not prepared to recap all of my testimony from before, but the costs for some of these things are extremely large compared to the size of the budget. And I was questioning some of those. I think there's still room to look at those. Okay. In the financial details, I looked those estimates and assumptions in the park's proposal as presented to you, underlying, and I found that they contained some significant omissions, inconsistencies, and biases. And these were pointed out last month to the Parks Division Manager, Mr. Schweitzer, and who made a timely reply and addressed some of the points. And I've included that email exchange in the record for you. My conclusion is still that the parks analysis significantly understates the revenues and assumes worst-case expense estimates that together are likely to overcollect revenues for the play structures and operations and maintenance. Now, I had hoped that we would have some time. Am I done? My apologies. You have their written.
Why don't you just close?
Okay, thank you. I had hoped that we'd have time to work together on looking at these budget estimates and costs and so forth. I haven't seen that. But if you approve it as is, I was not aware of the new memo and proposals. I didn't get a chance to speak to that. It sounds like there's some opportunity in there. But if you, approve it as is, I ask that you allow or encourage staff to work closely on looking at some of the budget, because I think I can identify some things that can be improved in way of cost savings, and also conduct an analysis of the planned big play structure that I think we can come up with. And Manager Schweitzer says that that will occur, which is good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sorry, thanks for the extra time.
Mr. Hodges.
Is there anyone else in the auditorium wishing to speak on the staff report that was just presented? Please raise your hand and come forward. Not seeing any hands. Is there anyone online via Zoom that would like to provide any comment? Please utilize the raise hand feature. I'm not seeing any hands. Chair Harrington.
Thank you. Seeing none at this juncture, I'd like to close the public hearing and also mention that the packet also includes information from 21 different people, including the responses. These are communications that we have received most recently since our original public hearing back in January. So, board members, now is the time for any further questions and comments. We can do so before or after we have a motion. What would you prefer?
Let's ask first.
Okay, feel free.
At the January public hearing, I asked questions particularly about the cost allocation plan and I think as it's presented on the line items in the presentation, the internal service fund transfer. It is hard for me just on the face of it to, and I guess I'm just like looking for some sort of a acknowledgement or perhaps an alternative plan. It is hard for me to stomach the fact that that is, in this situation, is proposed to be higher than the operations, like the personnel and operations budget. Like, it just does not, I don't know how much HR, IT, finance, I mean, maybe there's a little bit of finance support, but like, it's pretty hard for me to justify many of the services. And if it's just simply because it's a bunch of acreage and there's a building on it, I guess I understand that, but it just seems like we have, like, our model has failed to work in this situation. And I'm imposing my judgment on that. I will acknowledge that. It does not seem to make sense on the face of it. So has there been any work done since January on how this applies to this particular LID?
So I'm happy to address some of that if Carl would like me to. There's a few things to note. Our cap costs are high. And the reason that they are high is because the services we provide, the way we're able to provide for hiring, management, financial, all of those pieces require us to have staffing levels that allow for us to do so. We also we try and pay a living wage. We try and meet the expectations of our community for these services. And it does add costs. One of the interesting things about our parks team right now is that we have it within the Fleet Facilities and Parks department. And within that department right now, the cap costs for facilities are actually housing all of the costs for the administration of that full department. So when you see the budget, facilities is actually covering more of the administrative cost than the rest of our divisions within that team because we have two enterprise funds. We have this one and we have Wingspan. And those mean that they're trying to equal the cost of what they bring in. So they're trying to never to be dependent on the general fund. We're not there perfectly yet on Wingspan. But Carl's been doing a really nice job of trying to make sure that we stay there for these fees. There's no subsidization, and some of our other divisions still receive some of that subsidization for cap costs. So I just say all that here to say the cap discussion is an important one. We're going to talk about it during budget. But I do trust that the numbers are accurately reflected here for the number of employees that we have, for the amount of work and money that we need to invest into the space. But I hear you that they're high. I can't.
So why,
go for it.
You know, in the rest of those on the facility side, we're reserving money to take care of the capital needs. So why is that not included in the playground equipment component of this?
Do you know?
The county has not historically had a playground equipment depreciation program similar to how, for example, for our fleet vehicles, we set aside for fleet unless it is, for example, within our public safety levy, we don't, because that's only a 5-year window. It's not a reoccurring window. So there is some exception, but for playgrounds, we currently do not have a set-aside program established. And part of that, I would say, because as a county, the county is different than a city that operates several neighborhood parks or a park district. So it just historically has not came up.
And if you're interested in having a discussion about including it into the cap rate and having it as a part of our BRR or a part of our depreciation schedule, we can have that discussion, absolutely. But you're correct that right now you do not receive any funds from the BRR or from other fund balances within facilities to pay for the equipment.
Again, nobody's commented on the relative percentage, and I don't know. I mean, I guess I can look at the budget as we get into this year's budget more carefully, but I don't know of another department where those costs are higher than the actual entire budget of the department. Maybe there are some, but
There is.
There is?
Yeah. I can...
I'll have questions during the budget process about that too, I guess, but yeah. It's hard to sort of justify that when it's this type of a situation.
Well, and I would just say from policy perspective, I'm going to call it changing the levers on our cost allocation methodology is a larger policy question, because if we change the cap cost or the internal services cost for one program, it gets offset and someone else pays a higher burden. So if the board in the future, which we just have not had the capacity as staff to make this a priority. However, I will say that I do think we need to look at it in the future. What is our overall methodology, and does it provide for fair and equitable distribution of cost? And is it also misleading to have that all lumped into one cap cost, or also broken out to better show the spread of those costs? So, for example, in your question, Commissioner Snyder, so you could see the difference between what is building depreciation, for example, on the building versus what is the general operating cost, carrying cost for internal services too.
So I will state this for purposes of the rest of the discussion, and then I'll be done. I am uncomfortable with the amount of engagement around the purchasing and the plan to purchase and replace all of the equipment. I recognize that it can't stay there forever, and I don't want equipment that's unsafe. So that's got to be dealt with, which probably means you need the money to do the community engagement as needed. So I will support that, and I will support the operation, what's needed for operations over the next either 1 or 5 years. Those are the proposals you put before us, but I don't think, I'm not there on the capital equipment side of the play structure equipment. Thank you.
And just so that I close this out regarding the cap, it's an important conversation, and it's one that we're committed to. We had been waiting to see if we could get through a couple budget cycles with me here, but give me about a year and we'll start having those conversations. It's important to Steve Kang, who's in the back of the room, as well as John Steyer. So we do care about this a lot, and we want to make sure people are paying accurately for the services they're receiving.
Are there other commissioner questions at this point? Commissioner Willie.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I have to say I'm pretty frustrated at this point, because in the first time you brought that up, I communicated my displeasure with this for a variety of reasons, tossed out some options. I kind of expected to have feedback before it came back. Did I miss a meeting? Because I don't recall having this conversation.
So can I clarify?
Sure.
Okay. We heard a couple of things when we were here last time. One is that there was some interest in whether or not the county had a role versus a nonprofit role. So I believe that's partially why Courtney is here tonight, if you do have those continuing conversations or questions. In terms of engagement, we've done a significant amount. In order to do additional, we do need additional resources. It's why we added the chart about maybe spending another year doing additional engagement work in order to give you additional information about where the community is for these additional rates. But that was our solution.
Well, I guess I would have liked to have heard from the board of Metzger Park, or some response to that, so that I know. Because, I mean, I looked at the whole entire list of people paying, and yeah, the average residence goes from $70 to $140. Okay, I'd like to think that's not a deal breaker, but some of the businesses went to $10,000 and $12,000, double last year. Well, okay, we have to take that into consideration. And I just think there's a better solution than just doubling this. I mean, I remember the agony that we went through a few years ago when we increased some of our permit fees by 50%, not 100%, and not at the level that we're talking about here. So I'm feeling like, at least me, I have not been asked about what I think about this. And so I'm still a no. Can't do this. Sorry.
Thank you for your comments. I would like to open the floor wide open, so it's not just on questions, but also comments from full board members. So are there any district commissioners who have not spoken who would like to at least share comments at this juncture?
Yeah, sure, I can jump in. Team, thank you for your presentation. Carl, I actually went back and watched the previous meeting that we've had when this came up. I had to sort of jog my memory and just point myself in the right direction of why is this coming back, sort of just regroup myself. And I will tell you that I can be corrected and I will stand corrected, but I think you did a great job and sort of really repeated the information that you shared last time. I do appreciate the memo that was attached. I think it was quite illuminating and sort of honed in on what the significance and the impact of our votes. So I really appreciated that. I'm not a yes or a no sort of on this topic, because the thing that hangs me up is the cost of operation. It's quite high. And then it's probably not the best idea to do a policy analysis, putting the policymaker themselves in the middle of that. But if I were to put myself in that and sort of say, if I lived there, it's going from 70 to 140, that's quite high as well. So, and I'm concerned about that. But then, the good thing about going back and rewatching last time is we did hear from community members, residents from that really were proudly supporting this transition, this increase, this idea to go out for more money, and the value they expressed of what the park means to them. And also, I think the gentleman that also spoke last time. But there's new recommendations and requests that came up right now. And I don't know. I would be honest and say I didn't get a briefing on this topic, which led me last week on the weekends when I was prepping for myself to relook at where we left off that conversation and to sort of revisit, which was helpful. But now that we have new recommendations and new requests, I am wondering what your take on, and if you don't have the request in front of you, I can read it off because we all got a piece of paper and I don't think you got it. So it says request and recommendations from the gentleman that spoke. I forgot, I didn't write down the names. I apologize, sir.
Roy Beatty.
Yes, thank you, Chair.
We also have the responses that he referred to in the packet.
In the packet, yes. So I just refresh us. If the proposal, this is the request and the recommendation, if the proposed assessment, and this might bring along Commissioner Willie to this journey. I think we paused because of Commissioner Willie, and I think it's important we bring him along. Thank you, Tanya. If the proposed assessment is approved, then please direct staff to work openly with me and the MPLID Advisory Board to identify opportunities to save funds on direct cost and cap charges. What I am interested is, I don't want to put a responsibility on a community member and say, you community member, you came to us, you have to work with the staff. I think we need to tighten up the accountability. So I am interested in the advisory board, and I think we can extend an invitation to the community member that expressed interest, but is that something that could be considered so that we move this forward?
I would be happy to have a conversation. We've exchanged multiple emails. We've met in person for an extended period of time, and happy to continue that conversation with them. Hear Mr. Beatty's recommendations, any any issues that he has and incorporate those as needed. His other recommendation is to have more community engagement. If this is approved, have more community engagement surrounding the design choices for the playground equipment, which is standard practice. We would absolutely have distinct and standalone community engagement for what that playground would look like. It wouldn't be decided behind closed doors. It would be a community engagement process.
So you will conduct an analysis of our alternatives within the MPLI DAP and community at large for play structure replacement and other improvements at Metzger Park. You're saying yes to that?
If the board approves a 1-year or 5-year operations and maintenance only and provides us some additional resources to do further community engagement, that work can be done through that process. If that's the board's decision.
Correct.
Yeah, 5-year. I think for me, between my homework and the conversation here, it's in the best interest to do the whole, I think, 5-year. But I do want I'm a firm believer that people who are closest to the problem are closest to the solution, which is why I'm elevating these two. And I think, it's reasonable, logic request. So I hear you, yes, and I'm happy to support this moving forward.
Are you saying the 5-year operating levy, or are you saying the entire proposal with the playground equipment capital as well?
Yes, the entire.
Both?
Both.
Okay.
Capital improvement.
Clarification, that would be the third line, as well as she added in the consultant-led community engagement.
I will say that if we do the planning process for the parks, that money is included in that higher assessment. It's a part of the design work around parks development.
Oh, so even better.
Yeah.
Commissioner Treese.
Thank you, Chair. This is a really, obviously everyone's struggling here. We're grappling with this. I have listened to my fellow commissioners. Commissioner Snyder talked about it's hard to look at a doubling, number one. It's hard to look at cap costs that are so high in relationship to the cost of the work that's being done. I am uncomfortable with both of those things. I think that I am in favor of starting with a 1-year and looking just at O&M so that we can perhaps grow into some more maturity around our CAP program, understand whether or not, and I understand that we are growing in this process, whether or not we will have the capability to address anomalies like this and to understand how often that may occur and what the impact is when it does occur. I don't think we know that right now. But that's the piece that makes me the most uncomfortable. So my preference would be to stick with O&M and to do the engagement piece as well.
So I'll go last. I'm not surprised by this proposal for the playground equipment. We've heard about it before. And I appreciate the community feedback, though I'm not surprised that we heard some negative response. Particularly the scale of that response is very similar to what I believe I experienced as a member of this board in the two prior processes, 2019 and 2024. It's absolutely in line with that. One of the factors that I've looked into is how the proposal includes, for the average residents, increasing the fee from $70 a year on average to $140 a year. That would mean if I visited this neighborhood park once a week for the 52 weeks of the year, that is $1.34 per week. But if I only go maybe once a month, that's $5.83. A whole lot less than going to the movies or doing a lot of other things. This is, I have had, I'll only speak to myself, I've had the opportunity to learn over the years about Metzger Park being a absolutely community-loved neighborhood park. I've also learned to trust your methods for the LID. Repeatedly, you have helped me learn and overcome skepticism that I had when I started on this board in 2019. And I just want to say that I may be unique in this, but I am perfectly willing to move forward with the recommendation, with or without the additional community engagement. I don't want people to think that we can continue to have this neighborhood park with playground equipment as they have today. It's not feasible. The county has a lot of liability operating the park, which is also another reason why we have the cap costs that we do. There are costs to bearing the liability and risks of operating a neighborhood park. So those are my comments thus far, and I remain open to hear what motion and amendments the board might wish to entertain. Thank you very much for all of your work. I greatly appreciate it. And that of the Metzger Park LID Advisory Board.
Can I make the motion as staff requested? There are so many pages you all shared, so I lost where the request was documented, but thank you. Page number. No, it's different. Sorry, Chair. I found it, sorry. I make a motion to approve the Washington County URMD clean, oh my goodness, now I have a different version. Yeah, that's the old one, sorry. Where is this?
You want this one?
This one?
This is the item.
Okay, oh, thank you.
Just for the sake of the audience, if you're wondering, as the presiding officer in the meeting, I'm not allowed to make motions, so.
Yes, sure, thank you, sorry about that. I just lost my, my motions in there. I found it now. Yes. I make a motion to approve the MPLID funding option for operations and maintenance 5 years and capital replacement plan. As staff requested, I should say.
Can I please, Commissioner Fye, if you would let me please add some words maybe to your motion to approve the maximum annual assessment of $639,000 for fiscal year 2026 to 2027 for the Metzger Park Local Improvement District.
I believe she's also intending to add the $25,000.
And including the $25,000 to that assessment for community engagement.
So So you guys have told us 3 times we don't need to do that for that
Yeah,
assessment.
exactly.
So I don't understand what's going on with that.
Correct. We do not need to do the 25,000.
If you do the full, so can I just add the why, just so it's
I'm
clear?
going to make the motion. I have it now.
Okay, you
I
do.
have Chair Harrington's notes.
Okay, I just want to make sure that you're clear on this motion. So if we go through a capital acquisition of new playground costs, part of that process is community engagement with the playground vendor. And so the community engagement, I believe, Commissioner Fye, that you were reflecting a desire to, would be part of that process. So that would not need to be an add-on for the 5-year assessment.
Yes, thank you. Chair Harrington, I would like to make a motion to approve the maximum annual assessment of $639,000 for fiscal year 2026-2027 for the Metzger Park Local Improvement District.
There is a motion. Is there a second? Hearing none, I'm not going to use my prerogative of handing over the gavel for a second. Rather, I will say that the motion dies for lack of a second. Okay? What would the board like to do?
I move to approve the option, and I guess we don't have the resolution in order set for this, so
It would be a different amount.
yeah. And limited to the operations and maintenance for 1 year plus the $25,000 for community engagement.
So that would make the approve the maximum annual assessment of
It's $390.
$424,452. Oh, no. I did it.
That
Yes,
includes
that
the
is
25K.
right. Yes, that includes the 25,000. That's what you're intending? Yep. Okay.
Yes.
Second.
For fiscal year 26-27 for the Metzger Park Local Improvement District.
Thank you for the clarification, and I second that motion.
Any board questions or comments at this juncture? Okay, seeing none, I would ask all those in favor to please vote by raising your hand or saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0.
Thank you for your
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Chair Harrington, just so I can make sure that it's clear in the record, Clerk Hodges, if you can reflect on the record, the amount that the motion was referencing is on page 2 of the memo that's attached in the packet. Line 1 reflected operations and maintenance 1 year, as well as the add-on line for the $25,000 for community engagement. So I just want to make sure that's part of the formal record.
Yep, which is how I came up with the total of $424,452.
I'm impressed.
Without a calculator.
Yeah, I know it.
Thank you. Next, I would like to have us move on to consider a resolution in order, and yes, we'll have a public hearing to adopt a supplemental budget for fiscal year 25-26. And joining us is John Steyer, our Chief Financial Officer.
Good evening, Board. Good to be with you this evening. So this evening we're talk briefly, a brief staff report about the supplemental budget for this year. This is the third supplemental for the budget 25-26, which was approved in June of last year. The supplemental requirements are necessary to change things throughout the year that come up. The process ensures we have appropriate review and transparency of budget changes in accordance with budget law. Supplemental budgets are used to appropriate additional funding, transfer resources and appropriations between funds, establish new funds, and create new appropriation categories within funds. We reviewed the supplemental line items with your board in a work session last week on March 3rd. Exhibit A that's attached to the agenda item summarizes the supplemental budget adjustments. There are 15 line items. 4 of the items are in general government, 3 items from public safety and justice, 3 items from housing, Health and Human Services, 1 item from Culture, Education, and Recreation, 1 item from Land Use and Transportation, and 2 items from the capital budget, and 1 item with miscellaneous technical adjustments. Subject to your questions, staff request you conduct a public hearing and approve the supplemental budget.
Before I do so, do commissioners have any questions beyond what we went over in work session?
Gotta love debits and credits. Thanks, John. It's completely clear.
Thank you.
No question, but an appreciative comment. All right, well, seeing no board questions at this juncture, I would like to open a public hearing and ask Clerk Hodges if we have anyone who wishes to testify on this matter.
There was no one who signed up ahead of time, Chair Harrington. Is there anyone in the auditorium wishing to speak on the staff report just presented? Please raise your hand and come forward. Mr. Feek?
Chair Harrington and Commissioners, this is government in action. It's so important to have effective government at the local, city, county level. And as I've observed what's happened with the expertise of John and others and what's presenting a supplemental budget, I just encourage people to vote for it. And I like government in action that's effective. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Feek. Clerk Hodges, do we have anyone else?
Is there anyone else in the auditorium who wishes to make any public comment? Raise your hand. I'm not seeing any. Is there anyone online via Zoom who would like to make a public comment at this time based on the staff report just heard? Not seeing any hands, Chair Harrington.
Thank you, Clerk Hodges. And with that, I would like to close tonight's public hearing and ask for a motion to approve the resolution in order to adopt this supplemental budget for fiscal year 25-26.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. Next, we will move on to our action items, and we have 2 this evening. The first is with regard to Washington County itself, along with the Urban Road Maintenance District, agreeing with a new Clean Water Services Cooperative Management Intergovernmental Agreement. So we're going to welcome our team and thank them for joining us tonight. And we had a presentation on this at our Clean Water Services Board of Directors meeting, but we would ask our staff to please take us through the same presentation so that all of the viewers of the Washington County meeting can have the benefit of it. Thank you. Over to you.
I almost made a motion ahead of,
Right,
because my notes got mixed up.
Patience, right. Well, good evening, Chair Harrington and Commissioners. I'm Stephen Roberts. I'm the Director of Land Use and Transportation for Washington County. And I want to introduce, we have some guests here with us from Clean Water Services, so I'll just let the rest of the folks here introduce themselves, and then I'll say a few things to kick us off.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. I'm Jessica Pels, Washington County Land Use and Transportation.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. I'm Jamie Hughes, Compliance Operations Manager in the Regulatory Affairs Department at Clean Water Services.
And good evening, Chair and board members. I'm Joe Gall. I'm the Chief Utility Relations Officer for Clean Water Services.
Great. Well, we're excited to be here tonight. This is wrapping up essentially 2 years worth of work between our 2 agencies. And so we're going to walk through a presentation to just share with you that work and tell you a little bit more about process and then where we're headed from here going forward. So before we started, I really wanted to give a significant shout out to Jessica and to Jamie, who really led this work on behalf of the 2 agencies and attended, they'll tell you probably how many work group meetings they had to attend. So it was a big, big lift, and I really appreciated their shepherding this process through, and a lot of staff and different interests on both sides of this bargaining table, if you will. And really, they did a masterful job of really working this through its process. So real shout out to them. And I think with that, then I'll turn it over to Jamie. Yeah, thank you.
I will kick it off. Okay, so we'll talk today about, give an overview and background on the intergovernmental agreement. We'll walk through the process that it took to update the IGA, process improvements that came out of updating the IGA and outcomes, as well as open it up for questions. So going into the IGA overview, the background on it, why we updated the IGA, and then differences between the old and new one. So for some background, Clean Water Services, Washington County, and the Urban Road Maintenance District, also known as URMD, first entered into an IGA in 1990. The IGA details the cooperative management of sanitary, sewer, and stormwater facilities within Clean Water Services service area. And IGA updates were made in 1994, 1995, and 2005. So why are we updating the IGA now? Well, the 2005 IGA automatically renewed every 5 years for up to 25 years, so we're getting close to that 25-year time period. And additionally, Clean Water Services National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System and PDES permit also required Clean Water Services to update all of our IGAs with our co-implementers by November of 2026. So both of those things together are why we worked on it over the last couple of years. Some of the differences between the old and new IGA, we really wanted to focus this IGA update on the principles of partnership and collaboration and really building trust between our agencies before we started discussing and working through more of the technical issues. This IGA carries forward many of the operating provisions from the 2005 IGA, but there's additional detail around roles and responsibilities for both of our agencies, the regulatory requirements. There's a specification in there about Clean Water Services holding the NPDES permit, but working very closely with the county to implement the program pieces that the county is responsible for. There's an entire section on coordination where it outlines different program areas where the Clean Water Services and the county will coordinate during the life of the IGA, and as well as additional detail around permitting processes. There's also a process flow chart for capital project coordination that we'll talk about later in the presentation. The IGA update process itself, here's a couple of photos showing our work group, one of our work group meetings. We had lots of staff from both the county and Clean Water Services involved in all of these work group meetings to update the IGA. Our meetings kicked off in March of 2024, so it's been almost exactly a 2-year process to work through this IGA update. We had a 30-person work group roster, 18 in-person meetings, although there were many more meetings with smaller subgroups on more focused topics as well. And you can see on the slide that there are many different departments and work groups represented from both the county and Clean Water Services that were part of this update process. Again, I want to emphasize that we really wanted to set the intention for the group around partnership and collaboration. That's really at the core of the update process and working through these issues. We did that by allowing space to air what we were calling the grievances at the beginning of the update process in the first couple of meetings. What worked well in the 2005 IGA, what did not work so well, and coming up with a list of discussion topics to work through over that next 2-year period. And that worked really well. Here's a picture of 20 of the 30 folks that were part of this process. So yes, lots of different people from both the county and Clean Water Services were involved. And again, co-creating the IGA together really had us develop more of a peer-to-peer relationship across our agencies in all of our different department areas. So now we know who we can reach out to and coordinate with around different program areas. We had a much better understanding of each other's roles as both developers and regulators, since we both have those roles on both sides of the table. Also, we left with a greater understanding of our processes, our workflows, where we need information, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later in the presentation, as well as developing a common vocabulary and a definition of terms, because as we all know, different terms can mean different things depending on who you're talking to or what agency. So we have a whole section in the IGA around definitions as well. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jessica to talk about process improvements.
All right, thank you. Yes, speaking of definition and understanding, we'll talk through the capital project process and then some of the other outcomes that came out of the work. So one big outcome was working through what the actual capital project process was as far as the stages go, and then the information needed at each stage. And this helped remedy the problem we were running into of not having the right information from each other and communicating at the right points of a project, which was causing issues down the road with our projects and delaying sometimes, or issues with our contractors or field issues. And so we really used this time in our work groups to establish this capital project process, lay it out, figure out what was needed from each agency at each stage, and just really put it out there. And then the next slide talks about some more specific details, but this also shows this stage 0, which is not technically a part of a capital project, but it is really this pre-planning stage where we might have identified through your board adopting the MISTIP list, and we might say, oh, we have these projects over the next 5-10 years that are coming on the horizon. How can we collaborate together to address stormwater needs for those projects? This slide is showing what we're calling the capital project flow chart, just one page of it. This is stage 1, and what it's supposed to show is there's key questions that need answered at each project stage. This is preliminary or prospectus stage, what our tasks are, what CWS tasks are, and then what other information is needed. And the reason this is called a stage, it corresponds with each stage of the capital project. And then we're calling a stage gate by meaning that gate is closed until all these boxes are checked and we both agree that we can move past it to the next stage. So this is a really great process outcome that came out of this work. We did note during this work that more work was needed outside of the scope of the IGA update itself. This was actually a really great outcome because it just is going to continue to lead to more process improvements, better collaboration among the agencies, especially around these 3 work groups that we'll have continuing our permitting process, and that goes both ways on land use permits and our right-of-way permits with Clean Water Services and things like that. Future partnership projects, and there we're really talking about where we can collaborate on large regional stormwater facilities where we might get water quality credits for the county that we can use for our transportation capital projects, and where it might be a benefit to the district to have a regional facility that can handle more water. We're also going to be meeting to talk about transportation capital project stormwater standards, and when we're talking about that, we're talking about linear standards about what can be treated within the sometimes constrained right-of-way that is associated with the capital project. So those work groups are going to continue, even though this IGA itself is completed. Now I'll talk a little bit about the outcomes. So the big outcomes, and Jamie touched on these, but we have now an updated IGA that is really focused on collaborative management and coordination. And that is really, I think, a departure from our previous IGA. It's something we can really build on. It includes greater detail about roles and responsibilities. It has resulted in the framework I just went through for implementable process improvements, and a better mutual understanding of each agency and strengthened working relationships. We know we can work together and work through hard issues now after talking through many, many things over 2 years. And I wanted to talk a little about the benefits of this IGA update. So we think this is great because having these process improvements should save us time and money on our capital projects. And as we know, transportation capital projects are a big machine. They're really expensive. It takes a long time. So whatever we can do to make that more streamlined is going to be beneficial. It streamlines operations between the agencies by having these clear procedures and expectations laid out. And then, as Jamie said, there's a whole section on collaboration. So the IGA itself ensures continued close collaboration between the agencies to address issues and continue these process improvements over time. And with that, we have a staff recommendation, and because this is IGA on behalf of Washington County and on behalf of the Urban Road Maintenance District Board of Directors, our recommendation is that your board make two motions. One, to approve the Washington County Urban Road Maintenance District Clean Water Services Cooperative Management Intergovernmental Agreement in your capacity as Washington County Board of Commissioners, and then again by separate motion in your capacity as the Urban Road Maintenance District Board of Directors.
So, first, I'll ask if there are any board questions or comments.
Do you just reiterate the great teamwork? This is, I think, government working well together and a great example of that, and all of our community will benefit from that for the foreseeable future. So thank you to the entire teams of both organizations.
Anyone else? Ditto. Well, I'm going to make my colleagues in the audience sit through a second round of my comments. So first off, I want to say that I don't see this as just an IGA update. It is a major evolution of the IGA, and your presentation particularly highlights the collaboration and cooperation. A lot has changed since the 1990s when the two agencies put an IGA together, but you've also mentioned the 2005 IGA with the 5-year renewals, and change is continuing to happen at a faster and faster rate. Hearing the presentation for the second time just this evening, right, really has led me to two more realizations. Being on the board for the two agencies, I've had the opportunity to see over the last, or these prior 7 years, the intentional partnership that each agency has taken, county with its partners, including cities, service districts, communities, CWS with its partners, especially cities. And now this IGA really signals the partnership of the county and Clean Water Services together, offering our community more efficient service by both agencies in service to our community, which has a complex landscape. So, and I don't mean just the natural landscape, but the regulatory landscape as well. So job well done. And with that, I will first ask for a motion to approve the Washington County Urban Road Maintenance. Could you put it back up because I wasn't quite that prepared. Urban Road Maintenance District Clean Water Services Cooperative Management Intergovernmental Agreement in our capacity as the Washington County Board of Commissioners.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0.
We need it back again.
And for the second motion,
I can make it.
go ahead.
I move to approve the Washington County URMD Clean Water Services Cooperative Management Intergovernmental Agreement in our capacity as the URMD Board of Directors.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand. Thank you. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously 5-0. There you go. Would you like to have a picture?
We did already.
Did we do
Already.
it?
One already. Yeah.
Last time, yeah.
I think we're okay.
Okay. Okay, we are all set then. Great.
Thank you.
Just a big set of accomplishments and outcomes. Thank you. Next, we will move on to our final item for this evening's meeting. And I'll just observe that I left all of my notes upstairs and filed it already after the work session. So This is to consider approving the rule of law resolution and order.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any commissioner comments?
I'd like to make a couple comments here.
Please do.
I want to thank the community for bringing this forward as you did several months ago. I know I was in contact with several of you along the way. You have been patient with us as we have as we've done what we call sausage making. And I think that you saw a lot of discussion, you saw a lot of debate, and I appreciate, again, the patience that you exhibited in this, and I am very pleased to support this rule of law. During this time, I think it is most important that we do exactly this. So again, I'm pleased to vote in support of this.
Any other commissioners? Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to thank all of my fellow commissioners and chair today for coming to a point where we can, hopefully, if I understand, unanimously approve this. I think that's an important statement, and I strongly preferred that we do it that way. I guess I made that clear during the work session. I also want to, in addition to acknowledging the community and their input, I want to acknowledge the county council, Alex Barnett, for doing a significant amount of work compared to what is, I think, typically his work on things that were like this. And really, you went above and beyond and did a lot of difficult problem solving, and I want to recognize that, and thank you.
Anyone else? Commissioner Fye?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, thank you, Alex and staff and the two board members that worked on this. This was, you know, I think we all all of us took an oath to defend and support the Constitution and to defend the rule of law. I wished I had the amendments were the ones that we were approving tonight, but this is what a compromise looks like, and I think we compromised, and I think I appreciate what one of the constituents that testified, Michael, what you said around the good getting in the way. So I think what we have is a working model, and I think we'll keep defending the rule of law, and we'll keep making sure that people in Washington County feel supported, and that these laws that we have, as we turn into 250 years old as a country, as a nation, it's a proud moment, and I think sort of made me say, let's compromise, because we're at a pivotal time as a nation. While there's a lot of turbulence, a lot of bad things happening from the federal administration, there's also a lot of good people who are pushing the buttons of power these days, and that gives me hope. And that really gives me hope. And Washington County, it's a great place to live. And I'm very proud to be here, and I'm very proud that our county is where it is today. And it's because of all of you. So here's what a compromise looks like, and I'm happy to support this. But here's the other thing. There is a win out of this. Because the board already, one of the amendments was already supported, which is the one that got moved from consideration, that got moved into the GR team, which is the government relations team, to move forward. So there's that commitment. So it's not a loss. It's not a. So I look forward to continuing this conversation, and we have a rule of law about to be passed. So congratulations to everyone who worked so hard and traveled so far and everywhere from Washington County. So thank you.
Commissioner Willie, any comments?
I just want to say, I stand corrected. You can bring it back after we've taken it off in work session.
This is when you say, watch me.
Or I said corrected, I guess.
Well, we each learned more about practicing what the voter-approved county charter has as we do our work.
Okay, Chair, can I say one thing? One more thing. I just wanted to say, you know, as a presiding officer, the chair, this is some of the crisis that the presiding officer manages. Like, we took something off and we're like, Chair, we want to add this on, and then you have to figure out the rules and the procedures that apply. So, Chair Harrington, I appreciate your leadership on this and checking in with County Council. So I wanted to recognize that crisis that was dropped on your lap 5 minutes before we started. So thank you.
You're welcome, and I accept that on behalf of the whole board. As I mentioned, I left my packet upstairs, which included a somewhat eloquent statement to make at this juncture, because I don't usually make eloquent comments extemporaneously. I'm really appreciative of the work that we do as a board and with my colleagues, and that we continue to strive to practice the art of the possible in our role as the County Board of Commissioners without jeopardizing federal funding and state funding opportunities that are particularly vital for us to provide the wealth of county government services throughout our community, but especially for our most vulnerable community members. We continue to face changes in this regard, and we will continue to evolve in our practices in order to continue to strive to serve the community members that we are honored to serve in partnership with our amazing public servants here at Washington County. And that concludes my comments. We have a motion and a second. So at this juncture, I would like to ask commissioners to please raise your hand if you support the motion and the resolution. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. Thank you. Now that brings us to our second public communication period for today's meeting. Clerk Hodges, could you please do us the honors, please?
Absolutely. We have a few sign-ups ahead of time. The first two will be Mary Hokiopoulos and Joe Latre.
Welcome. And Ms. Hokiopoulos, if you could start when you're ready. Yeah, see, we keep putting the and we keep putting the chairs in your way. My apologies.
That's okay. Good evening, Chair Harrington and Commissioners. I'm Mary Halkiopoulos, a 24-year resident of Washington County. Since October 1st, 2024, at least 23 concerned citizens of Washington County have provided testimony during all but 2, maybe 3, Board of County Commissioners meetings regarding our concerns, observations, and findings on the state of our elections in Oregon and in Washington County. We have requested a work session on multiple occasions so that we could sit down and discuss these issues with you directly and informally, to no avail. Instead, we have been relegated to the 2- and 5-minute sessions during the public speaking portions of the board meetings. It's amazing how much we've been able to relay during those brief testimonies. At least we've been able to get our comments onto the public record. To date, we have covered a myriad of topics in several broad areas, including voter registration practices, systems, and security, results of Washington County voter roll case study, ballot and election security issues, election observation and reporting issues, certification of the November 2024 general election, an election which we hold was invalid, as we informed you and the then Secretary of State, federal and state laws and statutes that have been and continue to be violated, the Board of County Commissioners' accountability to your own oath of office, and the Oregon legislation that has been passed during the past several years, each one weakening election trustworthiness and security further. Some are in direct violation of federal law. We are baffled by the lack of action on your part, as you are all voters as well as county leaders. Repeatedly, you have taken the position that you're somehow powerless against the state, even though our county is a sovereign home rule county with the ability to hold the line against state overreach, especially when it comes to protecting the civil rights of your constituents when it comes to free, fair, and honest elections. The city of Sherwood, which is within the county, earlier this year exercised its home rule authority to hold off the overreach of the state with respect to land use. You've been shown time and again by us, and even on rare occasions in the local media, that there are tremendous problems with our elections. The data we have used is Washington County and State of Oregon data. It has been obtained by us at a price. It is not fabricated, yet you have chosen not to budge. You'll be receiving some further requests from us in the days ahead, and we hope that you will choose to engage to save the elections in our county.
Ms. Latre, while we're waiting to receive your written comments.
I was just watching the clock there. It was recent.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Please hold I just want to say, sir, I see that you want to make sure we've seen your sign. If amongst you care to take a picture of your signs and send them to me, I will be sure to make sure that the board has the benefit of seeing all of your signs. Okay? Thank you, and it looks like we have your written submission now. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Harrington and Commissioners. My name is Jill Latre. I've been a resident of Washington County for over 30 years. In reference to the previous testimony and to the testimonies that have been presented to this board at nearly every meeting since October 1st, 2024, by at least 23 citizens on the topic of election integrity, I would like to read from a list of laws and statutes that have been violated. These laws are listed from pages 5 to 10 on your packet that you have been given. This 11-page packet also contains 6 pages of additional topics concerning elections presented to this board over the last 1.5 years. In my allotted time, I will only be able to highlight some of the laws. Please refer to the document for more details. Article 2, Section 2 of the Oregon Constitution, elector qualifications, citizenship, residency, age, and registration date requirements. 2 U.S. Code 7, time of election, has been established as the day for the election. 18 U.S. Code 611, no non-citizens allowed to vote in federal elections. Title 3 of the Civil Rights Act, to combat racial discrimination in voting. The Help America Vote Act and the National Voter Rights Act have requirements with respect to the administration of voter registration. 52 U.S. Code 20507 states must follow specific procedures for maintaining accurate voter registration lists, making reasonable efforts to remove ineligible voters. States shall maintain for at least 2 years and shall make available for public inspection all records concerning the implementation of programs and activities conducted for the purpose of ensuring the accuracy and currency of official list of eligible voters. 52 U.S. Code 20511, criminal penalties for a person, including an election official, who in any election for federal office knowingly and willingly deprives, defrauds, or attempts to defraud the residents of a state of a fair and impartially conducted election process by processing registrations or ballots that are false, fictitious, or fraudulent under the laws of the state. ORS 162.065, A person commits the crime of perjury if the person makes a false sworn statement or a false unsworn declaration in regard to a material issue, knowing it to be false. ORS 162.405, a public servant commits the crime of official misconduct in the second degree if the person knowingly violates any statute relating to the office of that person. ORS 247.005, each elector has the right to vote if the elector is qualified, has registered, and cast a ballot in a manner authorized by law. ORS 247.035, in determining residence, the person's residence shall be the place in which the habitation is fixed and to which the person is absent, the person intends to return. ORS 247.038, the resident address of a person who is homeless may be any place within the county describing the physical location of the person. ORS 247.555, a county clerk may cancel the registration of an elector at the request of the elector upon the death of the elector, and if they receive written notice, if the elector has registered to vote in another state, or if the elector has not responded to a notice and has not voted or updated their registration. ORS 254.400. In each election, an elector has the right to cast an elector's ballot in a confidential manner. ORS 254.470. The county clerk shall mail an official ballot to each active elector of the electoral district. ORS 254.470. The elector returns a ballot by mail with or without a postal indicator. The ballot shall be considered to be mailed on the date of the election and will be counted if the ballot is received no later than 7 calendar days after the election. ORS 254.485, ballots may be tallied by a vote tally system or by a counting board. ORS 254.525, if a vote tally system is used, a public test shall be conducted after all the ballots are tallied, but before the final results of the election are certified or before the vote tally system is shut down. It is our request to this board, as stated in the Rule of Law Resolution and Order, to uphold your sworn solemn oath to support the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution of the State of Oregon, and the laws thereof, the Charter and laws of Washington County, and the policies of Washington County. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Luttrell. A lot of information in a short period of time. Thank you for providing us with this. Clerk Hodges.
Next, we'll have West Henry.
Hello.
Hello.
I guess I'm here to talk about the ADU process that y'all have here and stuff. I've built about 20 of these over the years, and what I see going on here is it tends to be an adversarial process between the homeowner and Washington County. It seems like the system's set up for more like builders and other people coming in, but for me as a homeowner that wants to do this, and like I said, I do 1 or 2 of these a year. When you go in, it used to be you could go in and you could fill out the paperwork and do it yourself. Right now, the paperwork to get into the system costs about $54,000. So it's running about $380 at 6% over 30 years to submit the paperwork to Washington County to build an ADU. It also takes about a year. So unless you're a big builder and wants to do these things, they've gotten really expensive. So a normal homeowner can no longer do this process. They go out and they hire a builder or somebody else to come in and do the paperwork. So now we have a piece of free land that might be worth $150,000 or $200,000. All that money just goes to a builder. It's all wasted. It's all used up in fees, administrative costs, zoning requirements. It just sits and sits and sits. The homeowner has to navigate 9 jurisdictions and get paperwork from Clean Water Services, the fire marshal, the school districts, all of that stuff before the planning part can even start. And in some cases, in one case, it took 6 months for the fire marshal to get a piece of paper back to me. And then the county kicked out my paperwork and said, hey, you got to go start over. So then a whole another 6 months. So it took a whole year just to get the fire marshal information into you. So there's no accountability. Your clock only starts once everything is done. There's no cooperation whatsoever. And if the county doesn't like your comments, it just doesn't move forward. So what I'm saying is, well, you got a lot of processes, you got a lot of paperwork, and you look like you want affordable housing. I don't see it. I've got many friends that I've helped through this process. For example, I just finished one. It takes me 29 days to build a house. 29 days after you approve the paperwork. It takes 1 year for the paperwork. So not counting the cost of the paperwork, it's over $300 a month just to carry the loan for the paperwork. It's $680 a month for the loan to build the structure. So before even taxes are involved, I don't know what you consider affordable housing, but I'm up to like $1,400 that you have to charge the renter coming in before you can even break even. And that's getting a $200,000 piece of free property, right? So the process is kind of broke. If I want to submit the paperwork, I have to do it through CAD files. Then I have to bring down the normal piece of paperwork. The days of a homeowner being able to do something on his property, you've kind of taken that away. You've covered everything, but now the profit goes to all these other people because they're one-off opportunities. So I would say, like, there's ways to create economies of scale in the system. You're creating more work for your people, and they're having to do twice as much work, and you're not freeing up the property that the state wanted to free up to build these thousands of houses. It's costing more per square foot to build an ADU than it does for $1 million home in Lake Oswego. It's just not fair, right? You're not getting the results that everybody should be able to get. I can build a really nice home for $80,000 in material. It's $54,000 in paperwork, right? So I'm just saying, like, it can be done, but you've taken it so far that a normal homeowner can't do it. And the paperwork process is so overwhelming, it just doesn't make sense. And then when you get all done, you end up with a $300,000 ADU, and that's not what you needed. Like I said, I can build one for $80,000, $54,000 in paperwork. But if I start today, and I've got 2 more that I want to do, and I'd ask you, I give you the paperwork, you try to do your own process. It's virtually impossible for a person to do it without hiring tens of thousands of dollars of professionals now. That's it.
Thank you, sir. I just want to verify, Clerk Hodges, do you have his contact information?
I can get it after this. I'll follow up.
Okay, thank you.
I love building them. It's my hobby, but.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us, sir. We appreciate it.
That concludes all of the signups. Is there anyone else in the auditorium wishing to provide comment for up to 5 minutes on any public-related matter? Please raise your hand. Not seeing any hands. Is there anyone online on Zoom that wishes to provide public comment for up to 5 minutes on any county-related business? Please utilize the raise hand function. Not seeing any hands. Chair Harrington.
Thank you, Clerk Hodges. And that takes us to board announcements. I'll kick it off. Next Tuesday, March 24th, we will not be holding any board meetings. Enjoy your spring break. That includes all of our students, teachers, school administrators. Then we're presented with the month of April already. Tuesday, April 7th, 2026, we'll start our day with a Board of County Commissioners work session at 9 a.m. We'll pause that, hold the Washington County Housing Authority Board of Directors meeting starting at 10, followed by the Board of County Commissioners board meeting immediately following. On Monday, April 13th, yes, you heard that right, Monday, we'll be having a Budget Committee orientation meeting at 6 p.m. That will convene as all the budget committees for Washington County, the Service District for Lighting, number 1. It's one committee. The Urban Road Maintenance District and Enhanced Sheriff Patrol District Combined Committee, and the North Bethany Community Service District for Roads Committee. You can hear it all at 6:30. on Monday, April 13th. Come and join us. Then on Tuesday, April 17th, we'll start our day with the Clean Water Services Board of Directors meeting at 9. Then after that, we'll move to the Clean Water Services Board of Directors work session. And then after a lunch break, but we're hoping by 1 p.m., the Board of County Commissioners work session starting at 1 p.m. On Tuesday, April 21st, 2026, we'll have the Board of County Commissioners work session starting at 9. We'll pause that, then have the Board of County Commissioners board meeting at 10, and then reconvene after that. Could be at 1 p.m. On Monday, April 27th, yes, it's a busy month. We will have a big budget meeting. This is where our county budget officer, our county administrator, Ms. Tanya Angie, will be presenting her proposed budget to all of the budget committees starting that evening at 6 p.m. And that will be here in this room. You can join us in person or watch on Zoom like all of our other meetings. That's it for board announcements for now. I'm not ready to look at the month of May. I know it brings us even more board and budget committee meetings. Are there any other board announcements for this evening? Seeing none, I would like to ask for a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting.
I move for adjournment.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. Thanks for joining us, everyone.